Far away in a distant part of the galaxy, there was a mysterious alien race known as the Watchers. They did not rule planets. They did not fight wars. They only watched and learned. For thousands of years, the Watchers observed other worlds. Silently, they had one goal: to find easy targets, weak planets with no defense, where their allies could take control and expand their empires. One day, a young watcher named Reltek sat in the observation chamber. He was scanning the outer rim of the galaxy, where new life forms had been recently discovered. "Look at this," he said, pointing at a blue and green planet on the screen. "This world. Earth. It has no space shields, no orbital weapons. Not even a single battle station." An older watcher, Voronil, came closer. He stared at Earth with narrowed eyes. "No shields?" he repeated. "Nope," Reltek replied. "Not even space patrols. Just small satellites and some old radio waves." Voronil frowned. "That makes no sense. Earth has been sending signals into space for 100 years. They want to be found. And yet, no one has attacked them?" Reltek shook his head. "I checked the records. Even the Warbringers passed by this planet without interest. The Zerakians, the most brutal conquerors in this sector, avoided Earth completely." Silence filled the room. The Watchers had seen planets rise and fall. Civilizations with massive fleets had been crushed by stronger empires. But Earth was wide open and still untouched. Voronil leaned forward. "Send a probe. Let's get a closer look." Reltek nodded. "Already done. Launched 1 hour ago. Fast-speed drone with cloaking. It should be reaching orbit." He paused. A red light began blinking on the console. "Signal lost." Voronil raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "The probe. It's gone." "Gone? As in destroyed?" "No, just vanished. One moment it was in Earth's orbit. The next nothing. No explosion, no signal, just silence." Voronil's voice grew serious. "That's not normal. Even if it was destroyed, we'd detect something." Reltek whispered, "This planet. Maybe it's not as weak as it looks." The next day, the Watchers gathered for a council meeting. The loss of the probe was discussed. Some believed it was a system error. Others were not so sure. Another Watcher, Zaravan, brought up an old legend. "There's a reason no one touches Earth," she said slowly. "A long time ago, a scouting team from the Drex Empire tried to test Earth's response. The team was wiped out within minutes. No warning, no message, just gone." The room became cold. "But Earth has no space weapons," said one Watcher. "Maybe." "They don't need any," Zaravan replied. "Maybe humans themselves are the weapon." Reltek, still curious, began watching human history broadcasts. They were all over the galaxy's data networks, free to access. What he saw shocked him. Humans had lived through endless wars, world wars, civil wars, wars over land, religion, oil, and even ideology. They had used weapons that could destroy cities in seconds. They had built machines of mass death and tested them on their own people. And yet, they survived. Again and again, Reltek whispered to himself, "They are not peaceful. They're just used to pain." He kept watching. In human entertainment, there were stories of alien invasions, robot uprisings, world-ending plagues, and in each one, humans fought back. Sometimes they won. Sometimes they didn't, but they always resisted. They turned pain into jokes, turned fear into songs, turned death into victory. What kind of species laughs during the end of the world? Later that night, Voronil stood with Reltek at the observatory. "There's something wrong here," Voronil said. "Every logical rule tells us that Earth should be conquered by now. But it's not. It's ignored, feared, like something dangerous is sleeping there." Reltek nodded. "The galaxy sees Earth as defenseless. But maybe it's just hiding its claws." A chill passed between them. Voronil's eyes glowed dimly. then we must be careful. Because sometimes, the most silent creatures are the deadliest. Asterisk, the Watchers had always trusted their technology. Their probes had crossed black holes, survived supernovas, and scanned the blood-soaked lands of the Krolax Wars. But the one sent to Earth never returned. No signal. No explosion. Just silence. That kind of silence wasn't normal. Reltek sat alone in the observatory, replaying the probe's last moment, an image of Earth's clouds, its oceans, a flicker of light, and then nothing. No warning, no attack alert, just a clean, instant cutoff. As if the planet itself had erased the probe's presence. He didn't speak of it aloud. But something about Earth began to disturb him. It wasn't fear, not yet. It was something colder, something deeper uncertainty. That was a dangerous thing in a universe full of conquerors. Every strong empire feared what it didn't understand. That the Watcher Council, still skeptical, decided to dig further. If a machine couldn't return, perhaps information could. Earth had been broadcasting radio signals for over 100 years. Music, news, entertainment, even distress signals had once leaked into space. Most species stopped such broadcasts when they advanced, but Earth had never stopped. In fact, it grew louder every year. So they listened. Old Earth recordings poured into the Watchers' hall, sounds of humans laughing, shouting, crying, cheering. Music that made no sense to the Watchers, filled with rage or sadness or hope. Speeches of great leaders full of fire and defiance, and reports. Endless reports. Of disasters. World wars, nuclear bombs, deadly plagues, collapsing governments, climate crisis. Yet through it all, humans endured. That's what struck them. Every time the species was pushed toward extinction, it clawed its way back. Where other civilizations broke and fell, humans adapted. They did not fear destruction. They lived with it. They evolved with it. One line from a human broadcast was repeated by the Council several times. We survived ourselves. Now nothing scares us. It wasn't meant as a warning. But it sounded like one. A decision was made. The Watchers would send a disguised listening team closer to Earth's orbit. No contact. Just observation. They would study the humans, record their behavior, and try to understand why no one dared to touch them. The listening post was placed on Earth's moon, cloaked from all known detection systems. 3 Watchers were assigned to the mission, including a senior analyst named Kirak, known for studying war-torn planets. He had seen dying worlds, madness, and terror. But Earth, he believed, would be easy to decode. He was wrong. From the very first day, things felt off. The humans below weren't at peace. Their cities were full of conflict, protests, violence. But there was joy, 2 children laughing, people dancing in the streets. Festivals lit up like celebrations during war. They lived as if tomorrow wasn't promised. Kirak noticed something strange. Humans didn't act like prey, even in the worst moments. Natural disasters, terrorist attacks, even pandemics. There was no collapse. Panic, yes, but not surrender. They fought to live. They helped strangers. They risked their lives for people they didn't even know. It made no sense. One night, Kirak tuned into a human documentary about space and alien life. A scientist on the program said something that made the entire moon base go silent. If they ever come for us, she said, looking into the camera, we will not beg. We will not kneel. We will fight, and we will teach them fear. She smiled after saying it, a soft human smile. As if she knew something the stars didn't. Back on the Watcher's homeworld, a report came in from the Drex Empire. A secret file that was once hidden for decades. It told of a small attack mission sent to Earth in the year humans called 1962. A stealth ship, carrying 6 elite soldiers. They were supposed to abduct a leader and test Earth's military reaction. The ship never returned. The Drex never spoke of it again. And now, the Watchers knew why. Not because they were afraid of humans, but because they didn't want to admit they had been defeated by a planet that had never even reached the stars. K sent his final message from the moon base before his team returned. Just one sentence: Earth is not silent. It is warning us in its own voice. No one had believed Earth was dangerous. Now no one was sure if it was even safe to watch it anymore, but it was too late. Earth had noticed them too, and something was beginning to awaken. The Watchers had traveled across galaxies, studied countless species, and survived through sheer knowledge and silence. But Earth, this strange, emotional, and chaotic planet, had become a mystery too deep for even them to ignore. They had watched Earth's history. They had seen its scars. They had listened to its madness. But now, they wanted to understand what was inside the human mind. No race becomes dangerous just by building weapons. The real threat, the Watchers believed, came from thought, from belief, from the terrifying strength that lived in certain minds. What made humans resist? What made them fearless? Why did they never kneel? There was only one way to know. The Council approved a mind reader, a powerful being known as Thezun, a telepathic alien from the Seer caste. He could scan memories, thoughts, dreams, even buried fears. His power had once unraveled the brain of a mad tyrant who had ruled 7 systems. He had survived the minds of killers, broken soldiers, and genocidal emperors. He had never failed until Earth, the human selected for study, was captured quietly, a lone astronaut in Earth's orbit, training near a station module. No one noticed when he vanished. His name was Commander Elias Monroe, a 38-year-old man from a military background, now part of Earth's deep space program. He had no weapons, no armor, just a simple suit and a quiet mind. Thezun began the process carefully, lowering his tendrils around the human's sleeping body. At first, all seemed calm memories of a childhood near the sea, learning to ride a bicycle, laughing with his sister under a warm sun. But then, something shifted. Calm waves turned into fire. The childhood laughter turned into the screams of fallen soldiers. Images rushed in like a storm battlefield soaked in blood. Friends dying, bombs falling, skies turning red. Pain, so much pain. Thezun tried to pull away, but the memories held on to him. He had never seen anything like it. The human mind wasn't resisting. It was welcoming him in, almost inviting him to see the worst. As if to say, "This is who I am. Can you handle it?" Then came the emotions: rage, loss, grief, hope, love, hatred, and a strange, deep joy hidden beneath all the suffering. Thezun screamed, not out loud, not in sound, but in the mind. His own thoughts began to blur. His sense of identity twisted. Was he Thezun or Elias Monroe? He saw Monroe as a child, and then as a soldier, and then as a man standing alone, watching Earth from space, knowing he might die for it one day, and accepting it. "If I fall," the human had once said to a friend, "then let my death be useful, let it mean something." That broke Thezun. He collapsed, tendrils shaking, brain bleeding from within. The human was unharmed, but the mind reader had to be locked in stasis. Doctors said he may never wake up fully again. His last whisper before losing consciousness was, "They do not fear death. They expect it, and still they fight." The Watcher Council fell into silence. They had seen many strange creatures in the galaxy, beasts with 10 eyes, clouds of living gas, creatures made of light. But none of them accepted pain like humans. None of them laughed during sorrow. None of them told jokes before battle. None of them created art from grief. One junior Watcher asked quietly, "Why would anyone live like this?" No one answered. In a secret report, the analysts wrote, "Humans are not logical, not predictable. Their psychology is chaos wrapped in kindness. They cry for the weak, but they destroy those who threaten them. They build beauty and bombs with the same hands. They love fiercely. They hate completely. They dream endlessly. And when they are hurt, they learn. One theory began to rise among the council. A dangerous idea. Maybe humans were not designed to be part of a peaceful galactic family. Maybe they were born to survive hell and make sure nothing else ever puts them back into it. From that moment, the Watchers made a decision. No more direct contact with humans. No more probes. No more capture missions. Earth would be watched, but from a great distance. Like a storm, beautiful but deadly. But it was already too late. Commander Elias Monroe had woken up. He had no memory of what happened. But he spoke. Of strange dreams, of voices in his head. Of stars watching him, and the strangest part? He wasn't afraid. He was curious. The same curiosity that once made humans light fire in the dark. The same curiosity that would soon push them beyond the stars. And if they ever reached the galaxy would have to decide fast, bow or burn. Because the monsters from Earth didn't call themselves monsters. They called themselves human. It began with a test. A small one. A whisper in the dark. The Watchers had seen enough to be afraid. But some among them, especially from the war-hardened species of the Outer Rim, refused to believe that fear alone could justify inaction. They called Earth a myth, a bluff. Just another primitive planet wrapped in drama. So without asking, without warning, they launched what they called a minor incident. It wasn't meant to destroy Earth. Just to test it. They sent a fleet of 3 scout ships, small but powerful, cloaked with high-level stealth tech that not even the advanced races could detect. Their mission: fly near Earth's orbit, release an atmospheric jammer to blind Earth satellites, and monitor how the planet responded. No weapons, the commanders had said. Just watch what they do. They called it safe. They called it smart. But they didn't know Earth. As the ships neared the planet, something unexpected happened. Earth didn't panic. In fact, within 35 seconds of the first interference pulse, Earth's systems reacted hard. Satellites rebooted with new protocols. Old defense codes, once buried deep, activated automatically. Civilian space programs went silent. Then came the first strike. One of the scout ships, still cloaked, was hit by a high-powered burst from Earth's own ionosphere. It wasn't a weapon, not exactly. It was a focused lightning storm, manually triggered from a global weather manipulation system, originally built to reduce hurricanes. It tore the ship's shields apart. The second ship went lower to scan what had happened. That's when Earth did something no one expected. They hacked the ship. Earth systems had never touched alien tech before. But somehow, through signal analysis and brute force programming, they broke through the alien firewall and injected a virus written in Earth code. Basic, brutal, but effective. The ship spiraled, lost navigation. Its internal systems began playing Earth audio signals, radio broadcasts from the 1960s, filled with music and news of war, rebellion, nuclear drills. The alien pilot heard humans talking about the end of the world. And laughing, he lost control and crashed into the ocean. Only one ship remained. That pilot didn't wait. He fired a warning shot just to scare them. A harmless plasma blast into the upper sky over the Pacific Ocean. No impact, no damage. Just noise. Earth responded with silence. For 2 minutes. Then they launched 12 projectiles from different points across the planet. Not nukes. Not satellites. Just old, reprogrammed missiles filled with metallic dust clouds and electromagnetic pulses. The alien ship dodged 11. The 12th clipped its wing. The ship didn't fall. It didn't explode, but it began to leak fuel. And within hours, Earth had its location. Human ship civilian search and rescue. Vessels sailed in its direction without knowing what they were chasing. The pilot sent a distress signal. Not to his command, to the Watchers. They're not scared. They're not confused. They're hunting. The Watcher Council went into emergency mode. They had not authorized the test. They had not prepared for the result, and Earth had sent a reply. It came as a broadcast, deliberate, slow, and filled with static. A voice, male, calm, human, spoke just one sentence in over 200 languages. "We noticed your visit. We responded, do not test us again." That message was sent across multiple frequencies. It was not meant to scare. It was meant to warn. A message that wasn't angry, just focused. The Watchers called an emergency meeting. For the first time in their long existence, they added a planet to the Red Protocol list, a list reserved for unstable worlds that should never be provoked. There were only 3 planets on that list. Now Earth was the 4th, and the strangest part, humans didn't even know it. They hadn't seen the ships. They didn't know their satellites had been jammed. The people of Earth kept going, fighting wars among themselves, arguing politics, chasing dreams, watching cat videos. But somewhere, in secret military rooms, someone had figured it out. Someone had known it wasn't a natural glitch. And they had responded in the only way humans knew how, unpredictably. Relentlessly, without mercy. The aliens had expected confusion, fear, a desperate cry for help. Instead, they found a protocol. As if Earth had always expected this day to come. As if Earth had always known. They were not alone. The Council was forced to accept something chilling. Humans did not need spaceships to fight back. They didn't need shields. They didn't need lasers. They just needed a reason. One Watcher said quietly, "They fight not because they want war. They fight because it's what they've always done to survive." And now someone had poked the nest. The fleet was gone. Earth had returned to silence. But the silence was different now. Heavier. Waiting. Watching. Something was coming. And no one, not even the Watchers, knew what would happen when Earth truly woke up. They had seen the weapons. They had seen the violence. They had witnessed Earth's response to a silent attack. But the real question still burned like fire among the Watcher Council. Why are humans like this? Why do they fight like wounded beasts? Why do they take pain and turn it into strength? Why do they survive things that should break them? The ships had failed. The mind reader had broken. The probes had vanished. Yet Earth kept existing like nothing had happened, calm on the surface. Chaos underneath. The galaxy now knew one thing for certain. Something was wrong with humans. So the Council turned to science. If human history couldn't explain it, maybe human biology could. Deep within a floating research station, orbiting the moons of a dead planet, a group of alien geneticists gathered. They had samples, blood, skin, nerve tissue, all collected from old missions, secret observations, and one unfortunate corpse left behind from a centuries-old encounter no one liked to talk about. At first, nothing stood out. Humans were soft, flesh-based, weak bones compared to other species. No scales, no natural armor. Their brains were large, yes, but not unusually so. Their muscles were average. Their reflexes predictable, but something was off. The longer the scientists studied human DNA, the more they began to notice strange patterns, not in the obvious places: strength, speed, intelligence, but in the responses. The triggers. The switches inside the human code that activated under stress. One researcher, a 3-eyed being from the Varnak race, stared at the neural data and muttered, "Their bodies are built for panic, but their minds are built to ignore it." Under pain, humans released more energy. Under fear, they grew faster. Under loss, they became more focused. Their systems didn't shut down under trauma. They woke up. Most species fled from fear. Humans evolved to charge toward it. Then came the discovery no one wanted to believe. Human DNA had no off switch for aggression. They didn't need war to activate it. They just needed a reason, real or imagined. Love, pride, grief, hope, revenge. Any of these could turn an average human into a soldier. A mother could lift a car to save her child. A dying man could fight long after his body had given up. Even their children played with conflict. Games about war, victory, conquest taught at the youngest age. Not because they loved war, but because they saw struggle as normal. It was how they learned. How they grew. One alien scientist, trembling after hours of analysis, whispered, "They were not made for peace. Peace is just the pause between wars." A special file, hidden in an old archive, was unlocked by accident during the research. It contained footage from Earth's early 21st century, not of wars, not of space. It was a video of a human athlete, running, falling, breaking his leg mid-race, and still crawling to the finish line, crawling with blood on the track, tears in his eyes, smiling through the pain. No one had told him to continue. He had nothing to prove, no enemy to fight, but he kept going. The room of researchers fell silent. It was no longer a question of how humans survived. The question became, how far would they go when pushed? Another part of the study revealed something even more terrifying. Humans could change under pressure, not just emotionally, but physically. They could train themselves beyond natural limits, grow tougher skin, increase bone density, rewire their brains after trauma, even develop new instincts within a single generation. It was evolution. In fast forward, most species took thousands of years to adapt. Humans, sometimes just one lifetime. They had survived ice ages, plagues, slavery, world-ending bombs. And each time, they came out smarter, harder, and more dangerous. It wasn't luck. It was by design. One council member, staring at the genetic maps, asked quietly, "Who made them like this?" But there was no answer. No ancient builder, no outside hand. Just evolution, shaped by endless conflict and survival. Earth had been a harsh mother, and humans had grown into its strongest children. They didn't just survive pain, they expected it. And when it came, they got better. The council closed the files. The labs went dark. The research was sealed under red priority. From now on, humans would no longer be studied, because the truth was out. Earth was not dangerous because of its weapons. It was dangerous because of its people, and its people we're still evolving. Asterisk, there are rules in the galaxy. Some are written. Others are whispered. A few are carved into metal tablets floating in ancient ruins. And then, there are the ones no one dares to say out loud. The unspoken rules. And among them, one stands above all. You do not touch Earth. It's not written in any treaty. No council enforces it, but everyone follows it. Not because Earth is strong, not because Earth is protected, but because Earth is strange. Whispers pass between starships, between smugglers and warlords, between generals and kings. If a fleet plots a course near the Sol system, someone always says it. Skip Earth. Just skip it. No one gives a reason. No one wants to explain. And no one ever asks twice. The Watchers were not the only ones trying to understand Earth. After the incident, the attack on the alien scout fleet, the collapse of the telepath, the leaked genetic findings, other empires began to grow curious and nervous. The Drex Empire, known for glassing planets into ash, had once tried to map Earth for invasion. That was 400 years ago. They sent one ship. It never came back. The mission was deleted from records. The captain's name erased. When asked about it, Drex officials always replied the same. We never saw Earth. We don't speak of it. Then there were the Corval syndicates, traders of fear and slaves. They once intercepted human transmissions decades ago, signals full of war, rebellion, pain, and still hope. One Corval elder spoke about it in a closed council. We trade in weakness, but they wear pain like armor. Even the Solari Hive, an insectoid swarm that consumed over 50 planets in one generation, avoided Earth, not because of weapons or defenses, but because of the noise. Human signals were too loud, too emotional, too chaotic. Solari scouts couldn't survive long exposure. The emotion fried their communication threads. One scout queen was exposed to Earth's music broadcast for just 12 minutes. She tore out her own wings and screamed until death. After that, the Solari marked Earth's frequency as poison. A warning was added to their hive memory. Do not feed near the blue world. Its song burns. But not every race feared Earth. Some respected it. The Irani monks, a peaceful race of philosophers who lived in silence among the stars, spoke of Earth as a world of balance, a place where light and darkness lived together, where love and hate danced like old friends. One Irani teaching read, "To study Earth is to see both the child and the monster, the fire and the water, the mercy and the fury. It is not evil. It is not good. It simply is." Even the ancients, the first known race of the galaxy long thought extinct, left behind a cryptic message carved on a dying moon. Translated only recently, "Do not wake the world of storms. Let it sleep, let it dream, for if it opens its eyes, the stars will tremble." So the rule remained, unspoken but understood. Leave Earth alone. The Watcher Council had finally accepted it. But they needed to be sure. So they sent one last team, not to Earth, but to ask others. They traveled system by system, empire by empire, and asked a simple question: why haven't you conquered Earth? The answers were never the same. Some said Earth was cursed. Some said it was protected by ancient gods. Some said humans could not be defeated because they never stopped fighting. Even after death. One commander from the Ironborn fleet, a brutal warrior race, laughed at the question. "We don't fear their ships," he said. "We fear their silence. We fear what happens after you strike them, because humans don't just fight back. They learn, they adapt, and then they remember." He leaned in, his voice growing cold. "They are not prey. They are survivors pretending to be prey. They are the storm that looks like a breeze." And still, Earth kept spinning. Its people, mostly unaware, argued about politics, danced to music, filmed themselves jumping off cliffs for fun. They laughed, cried, created, destroyed. They explored their oceans, looked up at stars, made promises to one another they often broke. But above all, they dreamed. That was what the galaxy feared most. Not Earth's weapons, not its rage, but its dreams, because every time humans dreamed of the stars, they came a little closer. And if one day they reached the galaxy, they wouldn't come to conquer, they'd come to understand, to explore, to connect. But if you hurt them, if you burned what they loved, then they would show you something terrifying. Not anger, not revenge. But unity, a billion voices, one cause. A single species that forgets its wars, drops its walls, and becomes something ancient and pure, a force of nature. And so the galaxy continues to spin. Empires rise, empires fall, and Earth just waits, smiling, listening, dreaming. Because everyone knows the rule. Even if no one dares to speak it, you do not touch Earth, you do not wake the humans, and above all, you do not make them remember who they are. The stars were watching. For centuries, Earth had remained quiet. No colonies, no fleets, no great ambassadors walking across alien halls. Just noise, radio waves, music, war broadcasts, drama, signals full of hope and heartbreak, drifting endlessly into space like prayers never meant to be answered. And then they answered themselves. A ship appeared. Human made. It was not large, not beautiful, not even fast, but it was real. It broke through the Sol system's edge with a blinking beacon that spoke one word: hello. The galaxy froze. Hundreds of species paused in whatever they were doing. Stations turned their antennae. Empires checked their defense systems. Some even readied weapons just in case, because Earth had finally arrived. The ship's name was the Dawn Caller. It carried scientists, artists, explorers. No generals. No soldiers. No weapons, at least not visible. Just humans. They docked at the Galactic Union Station, a massive orbiting ring known as the heart of civilizations. A place where thousands of species met, traded, and argued under the illusion of peace. When the humans stepped out, there was no fanfare. They looked ordinary, small, soft-skinned, wearing simple uniforms, smiling too much, talking too loudly, eyes wide with wonder. Some species laughed. That's the species we feared. Others stayed silent, because they knew they'd read the reports. They'd seen the footage, and they noticed something the others didn't. The humans weren't nervous. They weren't afraid. They were calm, almost excited. A private meeting was requested. Humans asked to join the council as a recognized species. They brought no army, no threats, no conditions. Just a simple statement. We're here to learn. And we're ready to listen. Some cheered, some protested. But no one stopped them, because deep down, they remembered the stories. The council accepted Earth's request unanimously. Not out of kindness, out of caution, but still, there were doubts, whispers behind sealed doors, conspiracies, questions. Why had no one ever attacked Earth? Why had the galaxy stepped back from a world that had no real defenses? What was the truth? Then weeks later, the answer leaked. A file. Not long. Not official. Just a single, shaky recording, dated nearly 100 years before Earth's first interstellar flight. It showed an alien ship, unknown model, badly damaged, crashing in Earth's northern desert. A recovery team of human soldiers found it. Within hours, no flag, no media, just silence. The video showed what happened next. The aliens tried to fight. They failed, not because they were weak, but because the humans were fast, brutal, precise. They captured the intruders in under 6 minutes. No deaths, no mercy. The file ended with a voicemail. Cold, tired. He said, "No one will know. This wasn't an invasion. This was a test. You failed." He stared into the camera. "Tell your people, we don't start wars. We end them. We don't show anger. We act. We don't threaten. We remember." Then the feed went black. The file was buried. The species that sent the probe no longer existed. Their world? Empty. No records remained. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't punishment. It was a message, but Earth never spoke of it. Never boasted. Never warned the galaxy. Because they didn't need to. They just waited. And now, they had arrived. In the following days, humans began sharing technology, teaching their history. Not just the proud parts, the dark ones too, the failures, the regrets. Other races watched in silence. They had expected arrogance, domination. But instead, they found humility. Humans didn't come to rule. They came to connect. They told stories, shared songs, traded food and philosophy. But still, beneath the kindness, there was something else. Something watchful, something dangerous. A Solari scholar described it best in a secret report. Humans are not predators. They are not prey. They are something older. Something the stars forgot. They are the storm before the silence. The hand that reaches out, and the fist that closes if you strike. So now the galaxy knows the truth. No one attacks Earth. Not because they can't, but because they're afraid of what Earth chooses not to be. Because when pushed, when threatened, when broken, humans do not just fight. They evolve, and when they evolve, they don't stop. Not at the stars. Not at the edge of the galaxy. Not even at the edge of their own humanity. Earth stands now not as a conqueror, but as a question. What happens when kindness carries teeth? What happens when the quiet ones rise? And above all, what happens when the galaxy runs out of excuses to be afraid of humans? and finally gives them a reason to show what they are. They can in peace. Just make sure they don't leave in anger.